Elizabeth Williams is having another stellar year, yet another all defensive team worthy and all defensive team caliber season, but also a season where a lot of the things that she's doing within the subtleties of the game is kind of getting lost in the fold with more loud things that are happening around the sky in terms of offensive firepower and the loud stats on defense like block shots and whatnot. So I want to dive into just some of the film looking specifically through the lens of her performance against the Indiana Fever to highlight more of the things that she does and did in this game, but something in a lot of the things that she does on a consistent basis from game to game. So let's go ahead and dive into the film. First play here, we're going to see the Fever get into some empty corner pick and roll, and we're going to let it bounce back out after we see this play finish. All right, and let's talk about the location. So again, it's an empty corner pick and roll from the Fever between Erica Wheeler and Aaliyah Boston. Look at the angle and how they take it lower than the free throw line extended just to manipulate the angle and also play in a little bit more space and have a little bit more real estate, making it a little bit harder of an action to cover and guard for a defense. However, because Elizabeth is so textbook with her positioning and her presentation in coverage defensively, specifically in drop coverage right here, she's able to play two by herself here. This is a great screen from Aaliyah Boston that discards of Courtney Williams. Now, typically, this might turn into a late switch because the guard wasn't able to get over the screen if Erica was a little bit more of a threat in terms of coming off a pick here to pull up. However, because of her understanding of scheme, but also her understanding of her opponents, she knows that she can gap off of Erica just enough to where if she is to pull up, she can contest, but she's also in position and with her presentation is able to take away the thought of a drive here and also slide and get back in position on the pocket pass. And she's able to recover with two slides, as you see off the pass, 1, 2, and then she forcing Aaliyah Boston underneath the basket on the catch here. Now, typically for Aaliyah Boston, any catch in the paint, especially near the restricted area, is going to be a high percentage look. But again, because of Elizabeth Williams' activity and her ability to just play with verticality and be disciplined in it, she's able to affect that attempt to release at the basket, and the Sky get initially a stop there before the offensive rebound. Next rep here, we're going to see a lot more of Elizabeth's IQ and feel for her opponents on display here. So now she's going to see, from the Fever specifically, we're going to see a post touch for Nalissa Smith, one of the hotter players in the WNBA coming into that game. We're going to see Elizabeth Williams on Aaliyah Boston again at the nail at the free throw line. We're going to watch her as she shows initial help, and then she rotates back out as she's 2-9ing so she doesn't get a 3-second violation. So she can reestablish the clock, and then she's going to eventually rotate over. Gives Nalissa 2 dribbles, 1, 2, and then she's firing out from the nail to double team and help Atlanta and put 2 to the ball on the block, forcing Nalissa to pick up her dribble. And because of the rapid unpredictability here, Nalissa doesn't even suspect that E is coming. So when she does come, it catches her completely off guard, forces an errant pass that's not there. And again, talk about the presentation with E. Look at her hands. They're already up on the way to the double team. And then she's able to get her hands in that passing lane in addition to just completely blocking the vision. Ends up getting a deflection here. And then with her, the job's not finished because now she's beating both post players back down court. That's going to pull in some help from the wing as Marina spaces to the wing. And the shot is missed, but we're going to just look at E again. Gets the deflection. Nalissa starts off the play a couple steps ahead of her, but because she's not getting back with real emphasis on trying to stop things, E's first 2-3 steps win the possession here for the Sky. And again, it's a missed shot, but look at the activity that she's playing with and just the positive plays that she's creating. Her rim run here, beating Nalissa, forces Kelsey Mitchell to hold in the paint like a vacuum a little bit more, just sucking in the help defense. And then that forces her to rotate out to Marina. And Marina doesn't knock down this 3, but that's a high percentage look for one of the hotter shooters in the W. And that's all a byproduct of Elizabeth Williams doing extra things, doing little things on the rim run after the double team that came with a deflection. And then here, we're going to see a little bit more of the same as the last rep here defensively. A little bit different of a context. We got a mismatch here with Nalissa Smith being guarded by Marina Mabry. Elizabeth Williams, being a defensive anchor, is on high alert and sees that. So what do you do to help to counter that as they try to get into it? We're going to see similar spacing again with Aaliyah Boston spacing just above the free throw line, so that puts E back at the nail. She's going to 2-9 a little bit, and then on the catch this time, a little bit later in the shot clock than the last touch for Nalissa. She's going to go on a flight of the pass here and put 2 to the ball. And again, it's the closing of the airspace, the activity, and just the hands. Her hands are very, very good. Some of the best hands in the W defensively in terms of her reaction speed and being able to get her hands on passes and get steals and deflections like we see here. That crowding of the airspace gets the hands up. That ends up getting a deflection, forces the entire possession off script as they try to get into a late clock isolation and a mismatch. Takes that away, and then the Sky are going to end up getting a well-timed shot clock violation. And then next rep here, we're going to see just some good defense from the Sky in general here in transition. Initially, it's going to be Kai forcing Kelsey Mitchell to a right-hand drive and then sticking to the hip on the drive, not just sending her right, but influencing her right and then sticking to the hip. And then we're going to see a great job from Atlanta. She's a little bit late, but she's still early enough to where Kelsey can't get a pay touch off of this dribble drive. But at the same time, as we see Atlanta step over to put the fire out, look at Elizabeth Williams in unison, in one accord with Atlanta. As soon as she steps away, she's stepping over to sink in and take away that drop-off pass on the baseline to Aaliyah Boston that Kelsey was trying to get to. She sees that that's not there because E is early in her rotation, and then they're able to rotate back out as the Fever respace, and then we're going to see a little bit more of Elizabeth Williams' defensive skill on display here. She's got Nalissa Smith on the second side that she's responsible for here. Gets out of that rotation after they put 2 to the block to stop the drive. Gets back out on Nalissa on the opposite side of the floor. Gets into a disciplined closeout. She leaves her feet just a little bit, but it's enough to deter her from taking away the look on the catch for the 3. And then she's going to get into a couple of defensive slides, sticks to the hip, takes away that angle, and just with, again, physicality to the legal limit, is able to get up a great contest, and then the Sky get another stop there. And then next rep here, we're going to see her just working against Aaliyah Boston. She's not going to get credited with a stat here for this stop, but because of, again, her presentation, she's going high side here as she denies in the post. And again, with her presentation, you see Aaliyah showing her hand here, letting her teammate know that I have the angle here on the seal, put it where my hand is. Look at where Elizabeth puts her hand. This is what I'm talking about with presentation with E. She's so good with it that this pass, though it is there, if it has a little bit more touch on it, E's hand being right where Aaliyah Boston's hand is going to force this pass to go a little bit higher, trying to, of course, accommodate for the reach that E has. That's going to buy time for Kalia Copper to bite over on this low rotation as the low man to put this help if the pass does go over the top. She has to put it so high over E that she's kind of worried about whether it's going to get there or not, and that all allows for time for Kalia Copper to come over and make a play as a low man. And this guy get a stop off to the races. And again, the job's not done with E because she's going to get yet another rim run in. She gets the help here from Kai, and now that's going to pin Aaliyah Boston behind both the ball and E as they get into transition. And look at them off to the races. E just fills that lane line or the rim line from rim to rim, runs straight down the channel of the floor, and looking like we saw last time, is going to suck in extra help. That's going to open up Courtney Williams. Dana Evans is, of course, again, with great vision, especially in transition, sees this as Aaliyah Boston's trailing. That sucks in Berger. Is going to open up Courtney Williams for a wide open 2, and that's money. Again, another sequence, all started by Elizabeth Williams. And then we're going to see a little bit of E's subtleties on offense here in these next couple of plays. This screen here, so what the Indiana Fever customarily, especially against the Sky, but across the entire W, what they've been doing a lot this season is against pick and rolls that start from the outer thirds of the floor, so the sides of the floor that are closest to the sideline, they're icing it or bluing it or downing it, meaning they're just keeping those actions funneled to the sideline and trying to force them down to the baseline at the same time after forcing it towards the sideline. So you can see Kelsey Mitchell as Courtney Williams brings the ball up the floor, jump here with her positioning to influence her to stay towards the sideline and keep her away from going to the middle. And in addition to that, we're going to see again Elizabeth Williams beating Aaliyah Boston down the floor, and she flips her angle on the screen as Aaliyah gets into the picture late. And because of the screen that E sets, the angle at which and the physicality where she sticks it to make sure that there's separation between Courtney Williams and Kelsey Mitchell. This screening angle enables for Courtney to have an opportunity to go one-on-one with the big, as the big is late. And Courtney really doesn't even feel Aaliyah because she's coming into the fold late. And this is a big-time screen assist from E as she opens up Courtney for a wide-open 2. And as we see the replay here, you can kind of get a little zoomed-in picture at what's going on in the action. E curls in late. Good angle on the screen, completely discards of Kelsey Mitchell. Courtney's able to come off scot-free, doesn't feel Aaliyah Boston as they get into the late switch. And Courtney's able to get into a midi pull-up for the mistress of the mid-range. Next rep here, we're going to see more of the same. I posted this play yesterday, but we're gonna kind of break it down a little bit more. Specifically, the part that's going to flow into E and Courtney Williams. Does just enough on the screen to force Kelsey to navigate this, opening up Courtney Williams on the catch. They're going to respace a little bit. And again, look at the spacing on the second side. One pass away is Robin Parks. Her defender is above the free throw line, and she's spaced to the 4-point line, not even at the 3-point line. We're going to see Alana Smith is the next player. She's going to be spaced above the free throw line, and we're going to see Dana Evans also spaced above the free throw line on the second side. 2 of those 3 matchups that I just mentioned, their defenders are above the free throw line. This is giving Courtney Williams and Elizabeth Williams more than enough space in this empty corner for the pick and roll. And as they get into it, you're going to see another great screen from Elizabeth Williams. That's going to force another late switch. They don't communicate it well enough, and Courtney Williams coming off of this ends up holding 2 to the ball. And it's going to be a perfectly timed pocket pass, but all set up by Elizabeth Williams in the screen. Discarding of Kelsey Mitchell initially, allowing for Courtney Williams to get over. Holding 2 to the ball again in the empty corner. They spaced it away with the angle pick and roll to where E is able to get into the reverse pivot after the screen, open up the gates, and she's going to be wide open getting into the catch. And then she's able to get into a 1-2, get into a layup before the help defense can really get into the picture. All because of the spacing manipulated by the Sky, having 3 players spaced that high above the free throw line on the second side. The angle pick and roll, basically sending the pick and roll to the opposite of the middle of the floor, going away from where the help defense is. And then the screen again from E is just opening up the roll for herself. So she gets a screen assist for herself here, essentially, if they were to keep track of those stats. And then gets into the layup for the finish. Just really good. And she's just so consistent with the screens that she's setting and freeing her guards up to get off and either attract the attention of 2, attract the attention of the defender that's guarding her, and then opening herself up for opportunities on the roll or for the short roll. Here we're going to see her just getting into a switch here. This is forward and forward. So they switch this, and she's able to stick to the hip and get a block. It's just nothing much to break down here, but just highlighting her excellence and her ability to slide laterally, even keep up with an offensive player that has a advantage in terms of starting her drive before E is in her position. And then next rep here, we're going to see a little bit more from E on the screening tip. You're going to see her set this screen here for Kalia Copper. And then we're going to see as she does just enough on the screen that pins her matchup behind Kalia Copper. It's not always about completely discarding of the defender, though you would like to. There's a fine line, though, in terms of getting moving screens and just doing just enough so that the guard can turn the corner. That's what she gets here for Kalia. And because she's able to break that leverage, that's going to hold Alyssa Smith in her drop coverage here. So she can't rotate back to E because the initial defender is on the hip and behind Kalia Copper. That's going to open up E on this short roll here. And though it's very good drop coverage defense here from Alyssa Smith at the free throw line, we're going to see a little bit of overhelp from Grace Berger. Not reading the defense and just understanding that Alyssa already has this covered, whether it's the drive with the ball or the roller because of her solid positioning. The overhelp is going to see Elizabeth Williams' IQ and feel on display here, as on the catch here from this pocket pass, she's going to get it over to Marina Mabry on the shake-up from the corner so quickly that it's going to force a 2-way closeout. So Berger is already late and overhelping here on E because Alyssa is already there. So it's overhelp. She's late because the catch is already made. And now she's rotating not just on the closeout to the roller, which would have been a tag if Alyssa wasn't in position, but she's also going to be late getting out to Marina Mabry. That's going to force an errant closeout, running her off the 3-point line. And then she leaves her feet on top of all of that, enabling Marina to get into a drive. And then that's going to open up Kalia Copper here, as the help from the nail is going to have to sit, and then ends up forcing yet another two-way closeout, as she's going to be a little bit late. Rather than being there early, it's going to force a little two-way. She has to take 2 steps to get into the nail and then force Marina to pass it out. That's going to all lead to Kalia Copper getting a wide open 3, and that's money. All again set up though by Elizabeth Williams, planning 0.5 on the short roll here. So it's catch, read, feel the defense, get it out of your hands quickly, and that allows for them to attack a closeout, and that gets the defense in the rotation. Dominoes fall into Kalia Copper 3. Next rep here, we're going to see just more E on the defensive side doing things. Solid job here as we see her playing again on the high side and with her presentation, making this pass as tough as it could possibly be. And as Aaliyah fights for positioning and reposts, you can kind of see them rotating, a little ring around the rosy, but E stays attached to her. And look at where she initially posts up 2 feet in the paint to where she ultimately catches the ball here. Just from Elizabeth Williams working, this catch is now in the mid-post. We went from 2 feet in the paint to the mid-post. This is all to E's advantage. And though she is going to get burned here, just being slightly, and I mean slightly as in this is her only defensive mistake of the game, really. She gets caught off guard here. This is a very cagey pump fake. We want to credit Aaliyah Boston here, breaking the defensive rhythm of E with this pump fake and able to get to the basket for this layup. But just, I mean, she's just so good that, you know, you're going to get got every once in a while when you play such great defense all the time. And this is just one of those moments. She rarely has them, but we just want to highlight that she is able to be beat at times, but it's just rare to see it, even from the elitist of post playmakers on the offensive side. And then this last rep here, we're going to see E just anticipating on defense here with her rotation. Rim protection is not always about getting blocks and playing with verticality, though that is the loud way of doing it, but it's also about being able to stop drives and get charges. Any way to get the ball back in your hands for the offense and to get back on the other side of the floor. And we're going to see that here as the Fever get into a little bit of their, just a little bit of action where they pitch it over to Nalissa and allow for her to get downhill in like a secondary break type scenario. And that's going to be exactly what they do here as Sika Kone plays for the handoff initially. Nalissa's going to cross over, and she's going to be out of position, Sika is. But again, Elizabeth Williams on high alert in the post here with Aaliyah Boston is going to be able to step up and anticipate, be there early, get in position, and take the charge. It's just, again, a little thing, but E is just so good with doing the little things so consistently that it really helps to keep this guy afloat in situations defensively, but also as we saw offensively in this film session. E has 105 stocks this season. She's 5th in blocks with 59, and she's 17th in steals with 46, and she also has 9 charges taken this season. She should definitely net herself a defensive team positioning and voting as we see over the next coming days. And again, just want to make sure we highlighting a lot of the little things that she does so consistently for this Sky team.